Bhakti-yoga Swami-niti namine namaste sarasvati deve Gauravani vacharine nirvishesha shunyavayushalya desha talive Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya
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 Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya.
So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, chapter 9, the supreme character of Jada Bharata.
Четем Шримад Бхагаватам, 5-та песен, глава 9, върховните качества на Джада Бхарата.
And the verse is?
The beginning of the chapter.
Oh.
So this is prose, there's not a verse we can repeat actually. So in the few weeks before, actually months before, in Ahiloy we was having chapters 7 and 8. We talked about Jada Bharat Maharaj. So I will give a short summary of what has happened until this point.
При няколко седмици обсъждахме 6 и 7 глава за Бхарат Махарадж, така че ще направя обобщение, какво сме говорили.
So Bharat Maharaj is one of those great kings when same like Yudhishthira Maharaj, Parikshit Maharaj and like that.
Бхарат Махарадж е велик цар, като Юдиштир Махарадж и много други велики царе.
And India is named after him.
И името на Индия е кръстено на него.
Bharat. So he lived a long time ago, and at one point he gave up his kingdom and went to Pulaha ashram to meditate.
Той е живял много отдавна и в един момент изоставил царството си, отишъл в този ашрам Пулаха, за да медитира.
And according to the description, he became very much advanced in devotional service up to the stage of Baba.
И според писанието той е напреднал много в процеса на предното служение до нивото на Баба.
One verse it's described as his heart was like a clear lake.
И в един стих се описва, че сърцето му е сравнено с едно чисто езеро.
And when he became absorbed in thinking of Krishna, tears came from his eyes.
И когато той се фокусирал с мисли върху Кришна, сълзи излизали от очите му.
But then one day, a deer, pregnant deer, became afraid of a lion's roar and lost the infant in the womb that fell into the water.
Един ден един женски елен в бягство от лъв и страх родил своето еленче, което паднало в водата.
And like that's a normal reaction. Bharat Maharaj wanted to help, so he saved the little baby deer.
И това била нормална реакция и Бхарат Махарадж спасил малкото еленче.
And the mother had died, so he felt there was nobody else to save this animal, and he took care of it, feeding it and raising it.
И майката умряла и той почувствал, че трябва да се погрижи за него, така че започнал да го храни и да го гледа.
So all this is very well, and one is compassionate and wants to save somebody from great danger, actually death.
И това е много добре, защото това е чувство на състрадание, някой иска да спаси друго живо същество от смърт.
But at one point he developed more and more affection for the deer.
Но от един момент нататък той развил доста привързаност към еленчето.
And according to the description, it was a gradual progress of becoming more and more attached.
И това бил постепенен процес, който е ставал все по-привързан и все по-привързан.
Just it happens to us, right? Everybody agrees. We have this experience.
Имаме такова преживяване и това се случва с нас също.
First of all, sees somebody who is attractive, so you keep looking.
Първо виждаме някой, който е привлекателен за нас и започваме да го гледаме или да я гледаме.
Then you exchange glances.
И след това има размяна на погледи.
Then maybe you begin to talk.
Може би започва разговор.
Then you sitting together.
След това сядате заедно.
Then you begin to touch very carefully the hand.
И след това много внимателно докосвате ръката.
If the hand is not taken away, this is a good sign.
Ако ръката не се дърпа назад, това е добър знак.
Now you can go forward.
Вече може да пристъпите напред.
And now the rest I leave up to your imagination.
И останалата част ще оставя на вашето въображение.
So this generally happens between human beings.
И това нормално се случва между човешките същества.
But it can happen also with animals.
Но също може да се случи и с животни.
And of course nowadays it's specifically dogs.
И особено в днешно време с кучета.
Human beings' best friend.
Най-добрият приятел на човешкото същество.
And cats, of course, they are also there.
Котките, разбира се.
Some people have spiders and serpents and all kinds of different animals, except for deer. I don't think anybody has a deer. But Bharata Maharaj became attached to the deer.
В днешно време дори всякакви насекоми се отглеждат, може би изключение е лен.
So this is all described in the previous chapter 8, and at the end, the last 4 verses describe how he, at the time of death, was completely absorbed in thinking of the deer.
И това се описва в предната глава. Последните 4 стиха казват, че той бил напълно погълнат в мига на смъртта от мисли за еленчето.
So he took birth as a deer.
И съответно той се родил като елен.
But because he had been very much advanced in devotional service, and there are other reasons, he could remember what had happened.
Бил много напреднал в преданото служение, поради други причини, може да си спомни какво се е случило, въпреки че бил в еленство.
So he was very careful. So he went again to this ashram where he had been before.
И той бил много внимателен и отново отишъл до този ашрам, където бил преди.
And actually lived like a very austere yogi, only eating dry leaves.
И всъщност живял като много отречен йоги и се хранил само с сухи листа.
And then he gave up his body again.
И отново напуснал тялото.
So there we are now, beginning of chapter 9, verse number 1. Shukadeva Goswami continues the story.
И след това продължаваме в тази глава 9, където Шукадева Госвами продължава историята.
So, my dear king, he speaks to Maharaj Parikshit, after giving up the body of a deer, Bharata Maharaj took birth in a very pure Brahmana family.
Шива Шукадева Госвами продължи. Скъпи царю, след като напусна еленското си тяло, Бхарата Махарадж се роди в много чисто браминско семейство.
There was a Brahmana who belonged to the dynasty of Angira.
Имаше един брамана, потомък на династията Ангира.
He was fully qualified with Brahminical qualifications.
Той притежаваше всички достоинства.
He could control his mind and senses and had studied the Vedic literatures and other subsidiary literatures.
Владееше ума и сетиваци и бе изучил ведическата литература и други допълнителни писания.
He was expert in giving charity and he was always satisfied, tolerant, very gentle, learned and non-envious.
Раздаваше подаяния, бе блажен, търпелив, много мил, образован и независтлив.
He was self-realized and engaged in devotional service of the Lord.
Постигнал бе себепознание и служеше с преданост на Бога.
He remained always in trance.
Непрекъснато беше в транс.
He had 9 equally qualified sons by his first wife, and by his second wife he begot twins, a brother and a sister, of which the male child was said to be the topmost devotee and foremost of saintly kings, Bharata Maharaj.
От първата си жена имаше 9 достойни сина, от втората му роди близнаци, момиче момче, за което казва, че било великият, предан и свят цар Бхарата Махарадж.
This then is the story of the birth he took after giving up the body of a deer.
Това е историята за неговото ново раждане, след като напусна тялото на елен.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Bharat Maharaj was a great devotee, but he did not attain success in one life.
Бхарата Махарадж бил велик предан, но не успял да постигне върховната цел в един живот.
In Bhagavad Gita it is said that a devotee who does not fulfill his devotional duties in one life is given the chance to be born in a fully qualified Brahmana family or a rich Kshatriya or Vaishya family.
Бхагавад Гита е казано, че преданът, който не изпълни духовните си задължения, за един живот получава възможността да се роди в семейство на достойни брамани или на богати кшатри или вайши.
Shuchinam Shrimatam Gehe. Bharat Maharaj was the first-born son of Maharaj Rishabha in a rich Kshatriya family, but due to his willful negligence of his spiritual duties and his excessive attachment to an insignificant deer, he was obliged to take birth as the son of a deer.
Бхарата Махарадж бил първородният син на Махарадж Ришаба от богат кшатрийски род, но тъй като съзнателно пренебрегнал духовните задължения и се превързал към един обикновен елен, бил принуден да се роди като елен.
However, due to his strong position as a devotee, he was gifted with the remembrance of his past life.
И все пак заради голямата си преданост бил надарен със способността да помни предишния си живот.
Being repentant, he remained in a solitary forest and always thought of Krishna.
Дълбоко разкаян, той заживял в една пуста гора, където постоянно мислял за Кришна.
Then he was given the chance to take birth in a very good Brahmana family.
След това получил шанс да се роди в много добро браминско семейство.
So let's see. So, any questions or comments? Surprise. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. I just was, I'm not so sure if I should wait for the last moment of the class to
No,
discuss
I'm
it.
asking now.
Okay, so would you say that Maharaj Bharat, he was not ready to be alone without association in the forest, even though he was in the stage of Bhava, and because that Maya tested him and sent him this baby deer, that instead of giving up when it was an adult, he became very attached to it. So maybe
Yeah, I understand the question. This is the common narrative we have heard in ISKCON.
Дали Бхарата Махарадж всъщност е бил готов да остане сам в тази напреднала фаза и затова му било изпратено еленчето за тест?
Yes. Because obviously the question arises, how is it possible that being in the stage of bhava, one becomes attached to a deer?
Как е възможно на това ниво на бава човек да се превърже към еленче?
So, let me just, I'm looking for something. Because he already had given up his family, right?
Той също се отказа от цялото семейство, нали така?
So, one second here. Vishwanath Chakravarti, Prabhupada's purports were based on Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentaries.
Коментарите на Прабхупад са били базирани на поясненията на Вишванат Чакраварти.
And let's see, and in his purport to, at the end of this last chapter, Srila Prabhupada mentions, he brings up this question. He says, one may ask, one may wonder, how is it possible?
И към пояснението от последните стихове на предната глава, Прабхупад пита, как е възможно това да се случи.
So I'm looking for this because I have it here, but I have to go to find the 5th canto. So it's not this idea which I mentioned. I heard it before. Probably anybody else has heard this before. This is the narrative. That because of a lack of association.
Това може би нещо, което всеки е чул, за липса на общуване се е случило това нещо.
So why can't I do what I want to do here? So I have to do it from memory because we talked about this. I read the just let me see how I can open this PDF in another way. So I can go to the 5th canto. Let's see. This will not take a long time. So Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport to this verse, which we can go to. It's like 8th chapter, one of the last verses, right?
8 глава, един от последните стихове.
He mentions how can a devotee be affected by his past because in the verse, this is interesting, Shukadeva Goswami, he will say, due to the fruitive results of his past deeds, he fell down from mystic yoga, austerity and worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Шукадева Госвами каза, заради плодоносни действия, които носят резултат, той е паднал от тази позиция на отречен йога.
And he again says, if it were not due to his past fruitive activity, how could he have been attracted to the deer after giving up the association of his own family and kingdom and all that, thinking that these are obstacles on the path of spiritual life?
Ако причината не е била плодоносни или кармични дейности, как така той може да се откаже от цялото семейство, да се превърже към едно еленче?
So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada then talks about it. He says, in this regard, a question may be raised.
И Шрила Прабхупад говори в пояснението към този стих, в тази връзка въпрос може да се появи.
How can a devotee be affected by his past misconduct and vicious activities?
Как един предан може да бъде повлиян от свои предишни кармични дейности, греховни дейности.
And then he quotes Brahma Samhita, Karmani nirdadhati kintu cha bhakti bhajan. For those engaged in devotional service, bhakti bhajan, the results of past deeds are indemnified, are eliminated.
И след това той цитира Брахма Самхита, където се казва, за тези, които извършват предано служене, всякакви греховни дейности се елиминират.
Like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, if you surrender unto me, I will protect you from all sinful reaction.
Както и Кришна казва, отдай се на мен и аз ще те защита от всички греховни действия.
So then, Srila Prabhupada continues, he says, according to this, Bharat Maharaj could not be punished for his past misdeeds.
И Шрила Прабхупад продължава, според този цитат, Бхарат Махарадж не може да бъде наказан заради предишни греховни дейности.
And then he says something which you may become puzzled. The conclusion must be that Maharaj Bharat purposefully became over-addicted to the deer and neglected his spiritual advancement.
И след това Прабхупад казва нещо, което може да ни обърква. Всъщност Бхарат Махарадж, заключение, че Бхарат Махарадж с цел се е превързал прекалено много към това еленче.
So what does that mean? He became purposefully addicted.
Какво значи това нещо? С цел той да бъде така пристрастен.
And he says this was to increase his desire for mature devotional service.
И това е всъщност било неговото желание да развие своето озряло Кришна съзнание или преданост.
To rectify his mistake, for a short time he was awarded the body of a deer.
И за да направи да може да се откупе за това нещо, за кратко време той получил тялото на елен.
And then he was very anxious to get out of the deer body.
След това той с голямо желание искал да излезе от тялото на елена.
And this indicates that his affection for devotional service was intensified.
И това нещо показва, че желанието му за предано служение било увеличено.
So much so that then he was awarded a brahmana body in the next life.
Така че в следващото тяло той получил тяло на брамана.
So then he said, therefore, with this conviction we declare in our Back to Godhead magazine that devotees like the Goswamis living in Vrindavan who purposely commit sinful activities are born in the bodies of dogs, monkeys, tortoises, etc.
И затова с така убедителност може сме казвали, сме споменали в списанието Back to Godhead, че всъщност някои предани с цел извършват греховни дейности, за да могат да се родят като различни животни във Вриндаван.
Thus they take on these lower life forms for a short while.
Те приемат тази по-нисша форма на живот за кратко.
And after that, they give up those animal bodies and are promoted to the spiritual world.
И след това те напускат тези животински тела и имат възможност да се превърнат в духовния свят.
And Prabhupada says such punishment is not due to past karma.
Такова наказание не е заради предишна карма.
It may appear to be due to past karma.
Може да изглежда, че е.
But it is offered to rectify the devotee and bring him to pure devotional service.
Но всъщност целта е да укори предания и да му подобри преданото служение.
So in this, I can't do what I wanted to do, but from memory, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur talks about two types of prarabdha karma.
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur говори за два вида прарабдha карма.
Which means the sinful activities which take fruit, which become ripe, and then you have reaction.
Това са греховните дейности и техните реакции озряват и след това има последствия.
And he says there's two types, auspicious and inauspicious prarabdha karma.
И има два вида такава прарабдha карма, благоприятна и неблагоприятна.
So in Bharata Maharaj's case, it was auspicious prarabdha karma.
В случая на Бхарат Махарадж това е благоприятна.
As Prabhupada took that and he said that just to intensify his desire for devotional service.
Всъщност причината е да усили неговото желание за предано служение.
Now in this regard, this is one of many examples where the story appears to be in one way, but there's more to it. It's just not just one way to look at it.
И както в много истории, това е едната част от историята или единия ъгъл, от което може да погледне.
And one shouldn't become confused, because if you look at the purports, there it looks like, oh yeah, he became, even the verses say he became like crazy.
И в човек наистина може да се обърка, защото следващото му раждане той се родил като луд.
He addressed the deer as a prince, as his son, embraced it, kissed it, and do all these things. So he was behaving like a madman.
И да, той просто се държал като луд, обличал Елена, слагал му царска колона, целувал го, прегръщал го.
Now, it would be a mistake if we think, yes, he's actually crazy, and I'm better than that. I would never become attached like this to a deer, only to a dog.
Определено е грешка, ако си помислим, че ние сме по-напреднали от него, защото никога няма да направим тези дейности, само евентуално към кучето си.
And people become crazily attached like that.
И хората наистина стават лудо вманячени по този начин.
I mean, in Akhiloy, we have the screen. I don't have a screen, but I have these pictures, of different people madly in love with their dog.
Имам такива различни снимки, които показват лудата любов на хората към кучето.
Or with a cat, like Karl Lagerfeld.
Или
famous example.
Или към котки.
Yeah, everybody knows Karl Lagerfeld, right? Famous fashion designer, German by chance, from Hamburg by chance.
Modern designer.
He lived in Paris all his life.
Който е живял в Париж, по принцип от Хамбург.
But there are, pictures at the end of his life. A friend gave him a little cat to take care of because he went on vacation.
И този приятел дал на Карл Фегер една малка котка, защото трябва да отиде на почивка.
Called Chupette.
Котката се казва Chupette.
Which normally, anyway. So, but there's a picture, and when the friend came back, he didn't want to give back the cat.
И приятелят му се върнал от почивката и Карл Фегер не искал да даде котката.
I mean, he's actually in an interview, he said, it's a shame that, still there is no marriage between human beings and animals. He would like to have to marry this cat, actually.
И в интервю казал, срамно че все още няма брак между човек и животни, случая котка.
And he described that, the way she moves, it's like Greta Garbo.
И той обяснил, че тя се движила с много изящно движение.
So, little crazy, right?
Малко луд, нали така?
And then there was this other one, this singer, famous singer, Miley Cyrus, who had a dog who died.
Имал известен певец, Майли
Cyrus. Huh?
Певица.
Yeah. So let
Когато
me.
има куче, което умрява.
I'll find both. I'll show you. It's easy to show. It's amazing, how actually people become absorbed in animals like this, and all their affection flows to these entities.
Интересно как хората се превързват към този вид живи същества и цялата им любов и привързаност се насочва към тях.
So this is also not doing what I want to do. So when the dog died, she was like devastated.
И когато кучето умряло, тя била просто така покрусена.
Yeah, so then on her next show, she had a huge figure of a dog, like with plastic you can blow up like this. So it was, like 20 meters high or something.
И на следващия концерт имала така огромна фигура, която може да лети 20 метра на кучето си.
And then she was at the feet of the dog, singing, looking up to the dog, glorifying the dog, the plastic dog. But the heart was with the dog.
Фигурата на кучето пяла и гледала към него и го възвеличава.
So that was the description with Bharat Maharaj. He was like madly in love with this deer.
И това било описанието с Бхарат Махарадж, той е бил лудо привързан към Елена.
So in Prabhupada, when he gives his purports, this is the whole idea. We should be very careful about this type of attachment.
И Прабхупад, когато дава своите пояснения, той каза, че трябва да внимаваме към такъв вид привързаност.
So although there's another explanation which is more subtle, the other type is also there for our instruction.
Въпреки че има и друго обяснение, което е на по-финно ниво, това обяснение също е тук, за да може да разберем ние полуката.
When we become attached, whether it's a deer or a dog or a cat or another human being, it's definitely not to intensify our devotional service.
Защото със сигурност, ако ние станем привързани към друго живо същество, независимо животно или човек, това не е за да усилим нашето преданно служение.
Just become illusioned and then have to take another birth, of course.
И просто влизаме в илюзия, която съответно ще се наложи да вземем ново раждане.
And we will not remember what we had done before. We will not repent and go to some ashram to give up the body very quickly. That's different.
И ще сме забравили какво сме правили. Предния живот няма да отидем, за да откупим тази грешна постъпка и да отидем в ашрам.
So this idea which was mentioned, it's not there. Neither Prabhupada mentions it, not Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Somebody invented it, I guess, because you had to find some explanation. Why did he do what he was doing? It's very strange.
Така че тази идея, че Бхарат Махарадж останал сам и това е било причината, е нещо измислено. Нито Прабхупад, нито Вишванат Чакраварти Тхакур говорят за нея.
It's not a bad explanation, so we should always not be alone, be with devotees. It's more safe.
Не е лошо обяснение, със сигурност трябва да сме в общуването на преданите, защото е по-безопасно.
It's okay. So you can look at different ways at this story.
Така че тази история може да бъде погледната от различни страни.
So this will be now what is coming now. Jada is another very interesting character.
И това, което предстои, е Джада Бхарата, много интересен персонаж.
We will see. It will continue.
Така че предстои да продължим.
So, Siddhanta. Anything else?
Нещо друго?
I'm okay, I'm in time, 8:15. Not bad. All right.
I was thinking we see in case of Bharat Maharaj that he is a Kshatriya.
He is Kshatriya, yeah.
Yes, and he is not succeeding in his spiritual life, but then we see himself as a Brahmana, which is the Vedic way. A Kshatriya becomes in his next life a Brahmana, etc. And then he succeeds. How can you elaborate on this topic?
I didn't even think about that. Does it have anything to do with it? I'm not sure. Maybe it does. Maybe not. I think it's not. I don't remember that this has been mentioned anywhere as a criteria. Maybe, like the other speculation is also not bad. Could be, because otherwise, it doesn't matter whether one is a Kshatriya or Vaishya or Brahmana. Devotional service doesn't depend on that. You don't have to go from becoming a Shudra, then next life you have to become a Vaishya, then a Kshatriya, then finally a Brahmana. Now you can become Krishna conscious. That's not our philosophy, as far as I understand.
Дали има връзка, че Бхарат Махарадж като Кшатрия не успел, като Брамана не, и Махарадж обяснява, че по-скоро не философията, че няма значение в каква позиция сме, за да развием любов към Бога.
As Krishna, he mentions Krishna's verse, Shuchinam Srimatam Gehe. Either way, this is normally where people go when they fall down from devotional service after having enjoyed in heavenly planets. Then you come down and you go to one way or the other. And in both situations you can perfect yourself. There's also many Kshatriyas who don't have to become Brahmanas first to become Krishna conscious. Parikshit Maharaj is the best example. Yudhishthira Maharaj, any of them. I don't think it's criteria.
И Бхагавад се описва как човек достигнал райските планети, може да падне отново в една или друга позиция и независимо в какво семейство или в какъв ашрам, няма проблем да развие предано служба.
Right.
And something else, Maharaj, I heard in lectures that...
You heard? From
devotees, it's speculation.
Okay.
That Bharat Maharaj fell down because of Vaishnava Parada.
See, that's another one. It's not mentioned. I don't know. Could be. What kind of Vaishnava Parada? We don't know. To who?
So it's a speculation.
I think it's a speculation. Sounds to me like a speculation. What do you think, Maharaj? Is that a speculation? I think so. Where? Why? Where? Of course, normally if you fall down, it's asat sangha or aparat. But it's not really a fall down. That's the whole point. It's not. It's not due to his past. That's what was pointed out. Even Prabhupada in the purport points it out. And then, because it's on Vishwanath Chakravarti's Thakur's purport based, his one is more elaborate. And he goes into the details, which Prabhupada doesn't mention, but which are there. And there's never anything about aparat.
Дали Бхарат Махарадж това нещо се е случило заради оскърбление, отново нито Шрила Прабхупад, нито Шрила Вишванат Чакраварти Такур споменава това в своите пояснения.
So we hear so many things. So she also comes up. I heard this and heard that. I said, where is it coming from? Where is it coming from? You tell me. I immediately go to the Veda base, look at and say, it's never anywhere. Like somebody said, peanuts shouldn't be taken in Ekadasi because they're actually legum. They're like peas. Therefore, they're called peanuts. They're within the shell like a pea. So it's like, I said, where is this? Prabhupada used to take peanuts. Why are you coming with these stories? Where did you hear this? Or somebody said, who is this somebody? It's really far out. And it's all coming from somebody in India. Somebody heard somewhere. And then it spread all over ISKCON immediately. Right? That's how so many things are like that.
И това, което се случва в обществото на предните, винаги някой чул от някой нещо, както например, че на Екадаши не трябва да ядем фастъци, което не е така и никъде не го пише.
ISKCON is like a small village.
Very small.
ISKCON е като едно малко село.
And we like that. To the neighbor, go on the staircase, talk to the neighbor. The latest news. Have you heard?
Чули последните новини?
Gramya Kataya. Anyway, so no apparat, no without association.
Причините за падението на Бхарат Махарадж са нито оскърбление, нито това, че е бил сам.
What else? No, we don't know what time.
Do we have time for
I don't know. I'm not in charge here.
do we have time?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so thanks so much for this wonderful class, Gurudeva. So basically we can conclude that he took this body of a deer the Lord made this arrangement for him to increase his desire for devotional service, and maybe after this, as Jagat Bharat, he becomes like a pure devotee, like gets into the stage of from Bhava into Prema. Yeah. And then also it appears to me that it's a way for us to learn about not getting so attached.
Well, that's the main lesson. That's the point.
Because apart from animals, we tend to get attached to family members.
That's right, and it doesn't make any difference. Either you, like Karl Lagerfeld was gay, he didn't have a family. Yeah, at that time, anyway. So, but he became attached to a cat, So.
It's very difficult for
Well, yeah, that's the whole point. Of course, very difficult, as you can see.
To try to find a way how
Yeah.
We know.
We all don't tell me. We know. Yeah, that's of course.
If I may add, so maybe secondarily he decided to purposefully get attached, but first he decided to help.
To what?
And to help.
Oh yeah, sure.
That means that devotees should be proactive in this world. Should not be passive.
Yeah.
Like living in a bubble or something.
Right? That's
somebody needs help.
Yes.
Of course.
If you can, help. Right.
That's the point that I was making.
Then if you decide to get attached, it's
no. That's everything was okay until he became attached. Because it's not that you are not the body, the deer is not the body. Doesn't matter. Let it die. I will not get involved. So we should help, but we have to be very careful.
Трябва да помагаме и да показваме състрадание към другите живи същества, но проблема е когато вече се появи привързаността.
Alright. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto. Chapter 9, the Supreme Character of Jada Bharat. Text 4, translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation of text 4. The Brahmana father's mind was always filled with affection for his son, Jada Bharat Maharaj. Therefore he was always attached to Jada Bharata. Because Jada Bharata was unfit to enter the Grihastha ashram, he simply executed the purificatory process up to the end of the Brahmacharya ashram. Although Jada Bharat was unwilling to accept his father's instructions, the Brahmana nonetheless instructed him in how to keep clean and how to wash, thinking that the son should be taught by the father.
Шримад Бхагаватам, 5 песен, 9 глава, 4 стих. Сърцето на Брамана бе изпълнено с обич и привързаност към сина му Джада Бхарат Махарадж. Тъй като не бе годен за грехаста ашрама, Джада Бхарата извърши пречистващи церемонии само до края на Брамачаря ашрама. Въпреки че нямаше голямо желание да слуша наставления, баща му го учеше как да се мие и да се пази чисто, защото смяташе, че синът трябва да се учи от бащата.
Jada Bharat was Bharat Maharaj in the body of a Brahmana, and he outwardly conducted himself as if he were dull, deaf, dumb and blind.
Джада Бхарата бил Бхарата Махарадж в тялото на Брамана и външно се държал все едно е слабоумен, сляп и глухоням.
Actually, he was quite alert within.
Но вътре в себе си бил буден и внимателен.
He knew perfectly well of the results of fruitive activity and the results of devotional service.
Той добре разбирал разликата в последиците от плодоносната дейност и от преданото служение.
In the body of a Brahmana, Maharaj Bharata was completely absorbed in devotional service within. Therefore, he was not at all necessary for him to execute the regulative principles of fruitive activity.
В В тялото си на Брамана Махарадж, Бхарата вътрешно потопен в предано служение не намирал за необходимо да следва предписанията, свързани с плодоносните дейности.
As confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.13, Svanushthitasya dharmasya sangsidhir haritoshanam. One has to satisfy Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the perfection of the regulative principles of fruitive activity.
Шримад Бхагаватам потвърждава, човек трябва да удовлетвори Хари и върховната божествена личност. Това е съвършенството на предписанията за плодоносните дейности.
Besides that, it is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1-8, Dharma svanushtita pungsam vishvaksena katasuyaha, not parayet yadiratim shrama evahi kevalam. Duties, dharma, executed by men, regardless of occupation, are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the Supreme Lord.
Освен това, Шримад Бхагаватам се казва, задълженията дарма, изпълнявани от хората, независимо от тяхната професия, са напълно безполезен труд, ако не пробуждат влечение към посланията на божествената личност.
These karmakanda activities are required as long as one has not developed Krishna consciousness.
Дейностите на карма канда са необходими за тези, които още не са развили Кришна съзнание.
If one is developed in Krishna consciousness, there is no need to execute the prior regulative principles of karma kanda.
Ако Кришна съзнание е развито, няма нужда да се изпълняват предписващи правила на карма канда.
Srila Madhavendra Puri said, "Oh, regulative principles of karma kanda, please excuse me. I cannot follow all these regulative principles, for I am fully engaged in devotional service."
Шива Мадавендра Пури казва, о, правила и предписания на карма канда, моля, простете ми, не мога да ви следвам, защото изцяло съм се посветил на предано служение.
He expressed the desire to sit somewhere beneath a tree and continue chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra.
Той иска да седне под някое дърво и да повтаря Маха мантрата Харе Кришна, а не да изпълнява правила.
Consequently, he did not execute all the regulative principles. Similarly, Haridas Thakur was born in the Mohammedan family.
Друг пример е Харидас Такур, роден в мюсюлманско семейство.
From the very beginning of his life, he was never trained in the Karma Kanda system, but because he was always chanting the holy name of the Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted him as Nama Acharya, the authority in chanting the holy name.
Той никога не е бил обучаван в метода карма канда, но понеже постоянно повтарял святото име на Бога Шри Чайтаня Махапрабху го обявил за Намачаря, авторитет във възпяването на святото име.
As Jada Bharata, Maharaj Bharata was always engaged in devotional service within his mind.
В образа на Джада Бхарата, Бхарат Махарадж бил вътрешно погълнат от предано служение.
Since he had executed the regulative principles continuously for 3 lives, he was not interested in continuing to execute them, although his Brahmana father wanted him to do so.
В продължение на 3 живота той изпълнявал правилата на карма канда и нямал голямо желание да продължава с тях, въпреки че баща му искал това.
So the whole system of this Varna Ashram system, where Brahmana is part of, is to perfect one's life.
Целта на системата на Варна Ашрама е да постигнем съвършенство в своя живот.
And one of the main aspects is to become free from sinful reactions.
И едно от основните цели е да се освободим от греховните реакции.
So therefore there is this Karma Kanda section which describes activities which are fruitive but which are not sinful.
Карма Канда секцията описва дейности, които са плодоносни, но не са греховни.
But as we understand from Krishna and Bhagavad Gita, whether this way or that way, sinful or pious activities will bind one.
Но както разбираме от Бхагавад Гита, Бог Кришна, независимо какви са дейности, греховни или плодоносни, те ще ни обвържат.
So therefore he tells Arjuna, yagyartat karma non yatra lokanam karma bandhana. Unless activities are performed for yagya, who is Vishnu, and yagya means sacrifice, then karma bandhana, they will bind one to the material world.
Ако дейности не са извършени като жертва за Вишну, те ще ни обвържат материалния свят.
So Prabhupada, he quotes this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Dharma Svanushtita Purusa, which means you may execute your dharma in the varnashram system, Brahmana dharma, Kshatriya dharma, perfectly. But if not parayadyadi ratim, if there's no development of affection for the Lord, then shrama eva hi kevala, just a useless waste of time.
Шила Прабхупада цитира този стих от Шримад Бхагаватам, може да изпълняваме своята дарма, своите религиозни дейности, но ако не развием привързаност към Кришна, тогава няма никакъв смисъл.
Now in the second part of this purport, of course, he speaks about personalities who are beyond Varnashram Dharma, Madhavendra Puri and Haridas Thakur.
И след това в пояснението Шила Прабхупада обяснява, дава примери с личности, които са отвъд Варнашрама Дharma, Харидас Такур и Мадавендра Пури.
And in one sense, we also are supposed to be beyond Varnashram Dharma.
И от една страна от нас също се очаква да бъдем отвъд системата на Варнашрама Dharma.
It's kind of, we're not sure, actually.
Всъщност, не сме много сигурни за това.
I will explain what I mean.
Ще обясня какво значи това.
From one point of view, Vaishnavas are not part of Varnashram Dharma.
От една гледна точка, вайшнавите не са част от Варнашрама Dharma.
Therefore, if we look back in history, we see our Vaishnava acharyas, like for example, Bhakti-yoga Thakur or Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji or Jagannath Das Babaji, even the Goswamis, they don't wear a Brahman thread. They're not Brahmanas in that sense.
Ако погледнем нашите ачари, Бхакти-yoga Thakur, Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji, Jagannath Das Babaji, Госвамите, те не са носили свещен шнур.
But then suddenly Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati has a Brahman thread.
Но изведнъж Шрила Бхактисиданта Сарасвати Такур се е появил с свещен шнур.
And Srila Prabhupada has one.
И Шрила Прабхупада също е имал такъв.
And some of us have one.
И някой от нас има такъв.
So we are supposedly now part of Varnashram, right? Or not?
И се очаква да сме част от тази система на Варнашрама Dharma. Или не?
So, in one sense, well, yes and no, because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati introduced this just for the fact to show the smarta Brahmanas that Vaishnavas are not less than Brahmanas.
И целта на въвеждането на този брамана шнур, че Бхактисиданта Сарасвати Такур е да покаже на смарта браманите, че вайшнавите не са по ниша позиция от тях.
But from this other point of view, as we see here, Madhavendra Puri, Haridas Thakur, they're not following these principles of Varnashram.
Примерно Мадавендра Пури и Харидас Такур, те не са следвали тези принципи на Варнашрама Dharma.
And Srila Prabhupada quotes a prayer by Madhavendra Puri. He actually sees the principles personified as, excuse me, I cannot follow you.
И молитвата на Мадавендра Пури, той вижда персонификацията на тези правила и казва, че не може повече да ги следва.
And the reason is I'm fully engaged in devotional service.
Причината е, че съм напълно ангажиран с преданото служение.
Prabhupada even says he expressed the desire to sit somewhere beneath a tree and just chant Hare Krishna.
Той изразил желанието просто да стои под едно дърво и да възпява Харе Кришна.
And similarly, there was Haridas Thakur who basically didn't do anything else than just chanting Hare Krishna all day.
И имаме и примера с Харидас Такур, който всъщност не е правил нищо друго, освен да възпява Харе Кришна мантра.
So in our history, we also had a few personalities who tried that.
В нашата история също имаме няколко личности, които са опитали това.
No names, but there was one person, he was sitting under a tree in Mayapur.
Няма да казвам имена, но имаше една личност, която стоеше под едно дърво в Майапур.
Prabhupada was taking a morning walk every day, and he was seeing him from a distance.
Прабхупад се разхождаше всяка сутрин и го виждаше от разстояние.
He was, who is that?
Кой е този?
Such and such Maharaj.
този Махарадж.
And anyway, so after some time he disappeared from the tree and disappeared from ISKCON.
И в един момент той е изчезнал от дървото и от изкон.
And there was another one at the time of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, apparently near Delhi, in some forest, chanting Hare Krishna all day long.
И също и по време на Шрила Бхактисиданта Сарасвати Такур е имало един човек още, който е мантрувал в горите до Дели.
And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta wrote a letter to the president of the Delhi temple.
И Шрила Бхактисиданта Сарасвати написал писмо до храма президент на Дели.
And he told him, if you can somehow or other get him back from the forest and engage him in some practical service, that would be very good.
Добре е да го върнеш в гората и да го ангажираш някакво практично преданно служение.
So, although this is obviously bona fide for personalities like Madhavendra Puri and Haridas Thakur, for us it means imitation.
Въпреки че изглежда това е авторитетно за личности като Мадавендра Пури, Харидас Такур, за нас това е трудно.
And even the Varnashram system, it's sometimes a controversial topic, apparently for some, shouldn't be.
И темата за Варнашрама Дарма по принцип е така тема, с която буди различни.
Yes. There was an interesting conversation on February 14th, 1977 in Mayapur again.
Буди различни съмнения за нас, не трябва да е така. Имало един разговор през 1977 в Майапур.
Between Prabhupada, Satsvarup Maharaj and Harish Sauri.
Между Шила Прабхупад, Сатсваруп Махарадж и Хари Сори.
And the topic was second initiation.
И темата била второ посвещение.
You know, Prabhupada wasn't very happy that, and he already had written letters before, that easily people were recommended for second initiation, and then later on it turned out they weren't really fit.
Шила Прабхупад вече бил писал, че не бил доволен от това, че много лесно някои предани са препоръчвани за второ посвещение, но във времето се виждало, че те не спазват стандартите.
And then he somehow made the point that it was not necessary that everybody would take second initiation.
И в един момент той казал, че всъщност не е задължително, че всеки трябва да приеме второ посвещение.
And it's back in 1977, so our experience is after 1 year, unless you're completely stupid, you have to have second initiation.
И това е през 1977. Нашия опит показва, че ако за една година човека не е...
Like a normal process. After 1 year, you have been there, still you have not left, okay, now you can take second initiation.
Ако за една година предане е напуснал, такъв стандарт се оформил, че тогава преданът може да получи второ.
So that was the argument of both. Actually, but Prabhupada, everybody takes second initiation. Why you are not saying it's not necessary?
Но те казали, Прабхупад, всеки взема второ посвещение, защо казваш, че не е необходимо?
Yeah. So then it came this point that, but there, you know, the process is the chanting. Everybody is chanting the holy name, and because we're chanting, so therefore, you know, there shouldn't be any problem.
И всъщност темата била, че в крайна сметка процесът е свързан с заспяване на святите имена и от тази гледна точка не трябва да има проблем.
And then Prabhupada just asked, who is chanting?
И Прабхупад тогава задава въпроса, кой мантрува?
And we met, well, why does he ask this? Everybody is chanting, right?
Защо?
Chanting, I hope.
Защо Прабхупад е задал този въпрос? Всеки мантрува, нали?
So he meant, well, who is really chanting without offense?
Но той всъщност има предвид кой всъщност мантрува истински без оскърбление.
And anyway, so the conclusion was that even for devotees, it may be necessary for some to go through the process of varnashram because they are not fit just to become elevated by chanting.
И заключението било, че за някои предани е добре да минат през системата на Варнашрама Дарма, защото те просто може да не могат да постигнат това съвършенство само чрез мантруване.
So how to do that? Even after almost 50 years, we have not been able to figure out exactly.
Как да го направим точно, дори след 50 години още не сме открили точното решение.
Yeah, because normally you just chant and that should be sufficient, and it is.
По принцип, самото мантруване трябва да е достатъчно, но...
Yeah, so even in the early 60s, Prabhupada gave the example, we know this example of the elevator and the staircase.
И Шрила Прабхупад е дал този пример, който знаем за стълбите и асансьор.
So you want to go to the top floor, that's the goal.
искате да отидете на последния етаж, ако това е целта.
And there's two ways. Here also you have an elevator and you have the stairs. It's your choice.
Както и тук има асансьор и стълби.
If you can take the elevator and then you're going very quickly, and otherwise it will take a little more time.
Ако вземете асансьора, ще отидете доста по-бързо.
Now the staircase generally should be more easy. It's pretty straightforward what you have to do. You just one step after another and you're going to go up.
Стълбите изглежда, че са много лесно, какво трябва да се прави една стълба след друга.
In the elevator there are so many buttons. Which one I have to press and
В асансьора е малко по-сложно, защото има повече копчета, които трябва да натиснете.
So, but the point was that yes, chanting is like taking the elevator and varnashram is like taking the staircase.
Но идеята е била, че асансьора е, че процеса на мантруване, а стълбите са процеса на системата на варнашрам на дарма.
Now, again, back in the 70s, 60s, we thought, well, just by chanting we'll go very quickly with the elevator, no? And in a few years we'll be at the top floor.
И тогава си мислим, просто че с мантруване за няколко години ще сме на последния етаж с асансьора.
50 years later, we suddenly realize I'm still on the ground floor. I haven't figured out which button to press. So if you would have taken the staircase, maybe you would have already been on the first floor by now.
50 години по-късно съзнаваме, че още сме на приземния етаж и не знам кой бутон точно да натисна. А пък ако бяхме взели стълбите, може би ще съм вече на първия етаж.
Well, I'm not saying that's everybody's case. Everybody has their own elevator. We are not all in the same elevator.
Всеки има своя асансьор. Не казвам това, че трябва да е случая за всеки един.
But we are honest and make a survey. Anonymous. You don't have to give your name. If we're really honest, maybe some will admit, I think I'm still on the ground floor, or maybe a little bit gone up, but definitely I'm not on the top floor.
И ако направим едно анонимно проучване, тогава може би всеки, ако е искрен, ще видим, че повечето от нас са на приземния или максимум на първия етаж, но не на най-високи.
So this Jada Bharat is a very unique case, of course.
И тук имаме един уникален случай с Джада Бхарата.
As all the cases in Srimad Bhagavatam, as we can imagine, they're not ordinary.
Всички случаи в Шримад Бхагаватам, които не са обикновени.
As we mentioned, we heard about his fall down is special. It's not just because of sinful activities or even just because of being alone or because of having committed offense.
Както прочетахме, дори неговото падение не е обикновено, не е заради греховни дейности или оскърбления.
It's a lesson for us.
Това е урок за нас.
That's the main point, practically speaking. And then he could remember as a deer, and now he is being born in a Brahmana family, but he's called Jada Bharat.
И след това бил роден като елен и сега в браминско семейство, наречен Джада Бхарат.
So Jada is a Sanskrit word for inert or like lifeless or dumb.
И Джада е дума, която описва слабоумен човек или безжизнен, бездейен.
Yeah, like this table would be called Jada.
Тази
Or
маса.
the floor, and the material nature without the living entity is Jada.
Не е инертно или безжизнено материалната енергия, без душата е такъв пример.
Now you had the Maharaj Bharata, you had the deer Bharata, and now you have the Jada Bharata.
Имаме Махарадж Бхарата, Еленът Бхарата и сега имаме Джада Бхарата.
And he's behaving in very strange ways.
И той се държи по много странен начин.
We will continue and we'll find out.
Ще продължим и ще разберем.
So, questions or comments?
Въпроси, коментари?
He early finished. But he was before you.
Why do our leaders in ISKCON struggle so much
Don't
with
ask
the
me.
Varnashram topic?
You know better than me. Tell us honestly what's going on in the
That's
GBC.
why we need your advice. Because we cannot figure it out. That's why we need your advice.
But
Защо нашите лидери в ИСКОН...
You're a little more on the ground.
Right. I don't know about that, but So you translated already?
Защо нашите лидери в ИСКОН все още така не могат да вземат единно решение за темата за Варнашрама Дарма?
One problem is in the past it also happened in Germany, remember?
Oh yeah.
That devotees shy away.
Yes.
They're afraid to be designated
Yes.
as a Brahmana or Kshatriya or Vaishya,
whatever, yeah.
И в Германия има такъв случай, че преданите били така, се страхували да бъдат идентифицирани като брамани или кшатри.
No, that's exactly the problem.
Това е точно проблема.
And Prabhupada explained it. He explained it even in the morning talks in Vrindavan 74-75. Hridayananda Maharaj was always pressing the point. He tried to figure it out. You know, I don't know whether he probably understood, and Prabhupada made, this was coming up, but we are devotees, even in our temples, Prabhupada.
74-75 Прабхупада е говорил по време на сутрешни разходки. Хридаянанда Махарадж тогава е задавал тези въпроси.
So at that time, and just imagine, that's 50 years ago, Prabhupada talked about a Varnashram college in every temple.
Преди 50 години Шрила Прабхупада е говорил за Варнашрама колеж във всеки един храм.
Do we have a Varnashram college anywhere in ISKCON?
Имаме ли някъде такъв колеж?
So not a real one.
That's what I mean. We have a Bhakti-yoga college in Bangladesh. We have.
Prabhupada also wanted a Varnashram university in Mayapur.
First you have a college, then you have a university. Maybe we should have a Varnashram basic rudimentary school first. ABC for that.
Прабхупада иска и университет, но може би трябва първо да направим основно училище.
You need some textbooks first before you have a college.
Добре да имаме първо книги, преди да имаме колеж.
I have seen so many papers written over the last 50 years about this topic.
Има много неща написани през последните 50 години върху тази тема.
So actually, but the main problem was that, and that was asked to him, but that's the point. We are Vaishnavas, we are beyond Varnashram. So suddenly now you're talking about Varnashram college and even introducing it in our temple. So it's like Arjuna and you're telling me action, non-action. Now you're telling me I do this, but I'm confused. What do you mean?
Прабхупада е говорил, че вайшнавите са над тази система и след това той е казал, че трябва да приложим Варнашрама Дарма, също както Арджуна е бил объркан да действа или да бездейства на бойното поле при Курукшетра.
Yeah, Krishna was telling and then now you're telling me to fight, but you talk about, so it's like, it seems to be contradictory.
И това изглежда противоречиво.
So that's our problem, I think. We are very difficult for us to accommodate apparently contradictory views of reality.
И може би това е нашата трудност да възприемем очевидно или привидно противоречиви истини за реалността.
So basically what Prabhupada's point was that we should be able to simultaneously take a position in the Varnashram system for showing the people in the world and simultaneously understand ourselves to be beyond as Vaishnavas. And that's very difficult to do.
Идеята на Прабхупада е била от една страна да приемем позиция в Варнашрама Дарма, за да дадем пример на обществото, от друга страна да сме с разбирането, че ние сме отвъд тази система.
So it's like, we are not the body, but I'm the body. So what am I now? Should I act? I'm not the body, but I have to take care of the body. So, you're not a woman. No, but you're completely identifying with it. Obviously, we don't want to get into the details, but it's very obvious. And some men are very much conscious, I'm a man. So this simultaneous identity is very difficult to live.
Както с тялото. От една страна не сме тялото, но от друга страна в момента сме в това тяло. И трябва да се грижим за него. Така че действаме като тялото или не. По същия начин дали се идентифицираме като мъж или жена.
So whether it ever will be solved, I have no idea. Probably not in my So, but maybe next generation, it's all up to you.
Дали този въпрос ще бъде разрешен? Вече чакам 50 години, не знам дали в този живот ще бъде разрешен. Може би следващата генерация.
I mean, in one sense, the textbooks are there. They're not written, but the Prophet gave all the instructions. Now, there's somebody has to figure out how to put it in such a way that we are able to apply it. I don't know.
От една страна, това, което е казал Прабхупада, там просто някой трябва да го систематизира.
We do have some attempts that we have to acknowledge.
Имаме някакви опити, трябва да признаем.
Maybe the most prominent one we know in Western world is Shivara Maharaj's Rajadam. And he told me he was working with his, people on writing it out in detail. We haven't heard about, that was years ago he told me, so I'm not sure what. But that they do things and we don't even know yet, but maybe one day it will. It's all in Hungarian anyway, so
We published a book.
Yeah, so
Varnashram in Hungary.
well, that's what I mean. He's much focused on this. Then, and you may remember, he tried to introduce this in the RGB, gave some presentation. But he also sees, that really nobody is really interested in it. So, I'll do my thing, and then if it turns out, here you have an example, and that's it.
Може би най-добрият пример е с Шивара Махарадж в Нивараджадам. Те работят по нещо, но ще видим дали ще излезе. Понеже тази идея била представена и няма много интерес, затова той се фокусирал да прави нещо в Унгария. Ако това е добър пример, след това други могат да го последват.
There are some other attempts in India, right? Bhakti-yoga Maharaj and Bhakti-yoga Maharaj, and who knows, maybe in Brazil something is going on, but otherwise, don't ask us what we're doing in Spain. It's not Varnashram Dharma for sure. It's some agriculture and we have a few cows, but it's not Varnashram Dharma. It's not so easy. It's very difficult.
Има някои други примери в Индия, Бхакти Рагавасвами, Бхакти Каши Махарадж, но в Испания има някакви опити, но със сигурност не е това, което трябва да е.
So the first step, Prabhupada, you have to see history. What Prabhupada tried to do is to create a section of brahmanas, the head of society.
Прабхупада това, което се опитва да направи е да създаде брамани или такава секция в обществото.
They are supposed to lead and organize everything, give instructions.
И от тях се очаква да водят и да дават наставления.
And I leave it at that. Do we have that head of society?
Имаме ли тази глава на обществото? Може би.
Well, to do that you have to have the Brahminical qualities.
За да правиш това обаче трябва да имаш брамински
And
качества.
look it up in Bhagavad Gita.
Нека да
Do we
погледнем.
know them by heart? 1842.
Нека да погледнем в Бхагавад Гита.
Not even sure, 40 or 42. 42, right? But anyway, so it's not so easy. It's on paper it looks like, but then application is another step. So
Хартия изглежда едно, но приложението е доста.
let's not become depressed. Jada Bharat is our hero here. Now we'll see. You just have to become like him. Become uninterested in the material world, and then everything will work out.
Нека не се депресираме, имаме добри пример Джада Бхарата Махарадж, може да последваме него и да не се привързваме към материалните
That's a new
концепции.
creation, Jada Bharata Maharaj. Look, it sounds good. It's just he's not anymore. He was Maharaj. He is now just a dumb. You will find out, really. People think he's completely useless, stupid idiot. He's a Paramahansa.
Въпреки че Парамахамса изглежда учето привидно глупак.
All right. Anything else? We have one more minute.
1 minute?
Yes, 1 minute.
I just want to go back to the topic of chanting, because in Soho Temple we also had this discussion not so long ago about we also had a class about chanting, and many of us were saying that we were it was really difficult to stay focused, concentrate for 2 hours. Though one of the offenses to the holy name is to not to lose attention, then everyone is like after half an hour trying to like bring
They're
it back
very
to the
elevated
person.
in Soho.
If you
I mean, I'm
16 seconds, I will be
struggling
impressed.
to get focused after 2 minutes. You know?
Half an hour. They said half an hour. They
Half
were
an
trying
hour,
to
that's
go.
amazing.
They were
I think I have to
saying
go to
that
Soho to advance.
These were like all the
Right?
materials in saffron,
You
so
can't
I can see that in advance, you know.
We go to Soho to become, to understand how to chant.
Лондон
They were
уморят
saying
се,
that, they were
Лондон
chatting.
уморят се
After
16
half an
seconds.
hour, they couldn't keep it up, they were saying.
Here, Prahlada Maharaj said 16 seconds.
16 seconds concentrated.
What's your? How many minutes do you give us for concentration while chanting? I mean, it's really.
Well, they were saying that, I'm telling you.
Yeah, no, but it's not easy.
It's not
It
easy.
is not easy.
So then it was discussed that, like, okay.
Don't ask me what to do. Huh?
Okay, I'm just telling what they say. Because and then they said, like, we don't have a realization that the holy name
That's
and,
right.
and the Lord are the same.
Yes.
Just to start. We know about it, but we
Yes,
don't have
we
the
don't know.
realization.
We know and we don't know.
Also, we don't have taste
That's
for
right.
it.
That's
It
right.
doesn't, like,
Yes.
it's not natural. We are doing it because we have been told that we
Yes,
have to do it.
exactly.
And then they also said, I mean, that they
We
were
all know
thinking-
why not.
Again.
And one of the main problems is this: our phones.
But they chant all the days together there without
Yeah,
the
that's
phone,
all right.
you know?
But the phone is also with you, and you're already thinking about how many messages do I have on Facebook? How many likes did I get today? Anyway, you want to summarize?
Oh yeah, because I think it's said in Hungarian, I'm sorry.
So,
Can you say it
yeah.
in Hungarian?
Въпросът беше свързан или по-скоро разяснението за мантруването и това, че принцип е много сложно човек да се концентрира за повече от определено време.
I mean, just remember that Bhakti-yoga Thakur, this is like 100 years ago, more than 100 years ago, said that inattention was the main problem and the root of all the other offenses. That's more than where there's no there's hardly even electricity, no TV, no radio, no nothing, and still people have problems to focus. I mean, you know.
It's because of the attention span of the body. Like that.
Well, I mean, you know, 3 problems with this one offense is inattention, which means distraction, and laziness. You know, like Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. I mean, you know.
So, like then.
And distraction, I don't know, you know, India 150 years ago, what kind of distraction do you have?
Още преди 100 години бактери, но...
The birds, right? I mean, what's our position? We don't have birds anymore, but we got so many other birds. We got, you know, now the Twitter bird is dead, but now you get
birds of our thoughts.
yeah. So
I mean, and then like it was said in the class that like though people are not really capable of keeping up with the concentration for too long, like he also said that like he noticed that some of them were not chanting aloud; they were chanting in the mind. And the
it's
first,
another speculation.
yeah,
Yes,
and they should be chanting. They should be listening to their own voice at least.
at least. Yes.
At least if they
We
can
know
keep
all
up
of
the
what we have to do.
concentration.
We just
And
have
then
to do
one day, the Lord will allow us to awake taste
That's
for the
right.
holy name because it's like a mercy that you have to
Kabe
receive.
Bolodinamar. When will the day come? Even
And
Bhakti-yoga
then
Thakur writes a whole song about
We
it.
can
When
chant
will the day
purely.
come? We don't know. Not, I mean,
And
hopefully in this lifetime, maybe next lifetime.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So that's what it is. And then it's
We'll meet again. Who knows where and when, but hopefully we'll meet again. So I think we are right. We have to finish here.
Okay.
We'll continue, I hope, if I'm still alive tomorrow, with Jada Bharata now. We'll see what he's going to do. They want to teach him Gayatri. Not possible.
Ще продължим утре с Джада Бхарата и как са искали да го научат да мантрува Гаятри, което не е било възможно.
Yeah. I will try to go quickly through. I mean, there's still a few more chapters and we don't have much time, but very interesting story.
Много интересна история, ще опитам да мина през нея.
When he speaks to Rahugana Maharaj. Anyway, so Thank you, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhagavad Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Sri Gaura Nitai Bhagavad Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare